I'm Rob, just your average 42-year-old IT guy living the good life down in Austin, Texas. Or at least I thought I was. Married to Diana for nearly a decade. Smart, gorgeous, ambitious. She's one of those high-level corporate consultants, always flying from city to city, making deals, solving problems, being the boss she is. At least, that's the image she always painted. But recently, something felt off. It started subtly, little things. She started guarding her phone like it was nuclear launch codes. Conversations became shorter, details about her trips more vague. Then came the night that set everything into motion. It was late. I was half asleep, expecting her nightly check-in call from New York or Chicago or wherever she said she was this time. When she finally called, I picked up, groggy. "Hey, babe," I mumbled. "Hey, Mark," she started cheerfully, before suddenly going silent. My stomach twisted. Mark? Who the hell was Mark? Mark, I echoed, instantly wide awake. There was a weird, heavy pause. Then she laughed, forced and nervous. God, Rob, I must be exhausted. I was just on a call with a colleague named Mark. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. Her voice was sugary, trying too hard to sound casual. But alarm bells were ringing in my head. Something told me she wasn't just tired or mixed up from a late-night conference call. My gut has always been sharp, and this didn't feel right. No worries, I said, keeping my voice neutral. But that moment marked the start of a quiet investigation. I've always been analytical, comes with being in IT. Trust but verify, you know? So I decided it was time to verify. I began discreetly monitoring her patterns, her stories, even quietly tracking her phone. And soon, I realized Diana wasn't just cheating, oh no. This was far bigger and way darker than I ever imagined. Stay tuned, guys, because it only gets crazier from here. Back with more of my messed up saga. After the Mark slip-up, I knew I couldn't just ignore this unsettling feeling that something was very, very wrong. Diana was careful, I'll give her that. But I work in IT, for God's sake. Digging up secrets is practically in my job description. I quietly installed tracking software on her devices. Yeah, I know it sounds sketchy, but desperate times call for desperate measures. Within days, I had more data than I was emotionally ready to handle. Hidden messaging apps, encrypted chats, fake social media profiles, she was good. Scarily good. What I initially assumed was just an affair quickly spiraled into something worse, much worse. As I decoded conversations and pieced together timelines, the picture became clear. Diana wasn't just cheating on me. She had entire separate lives in multiple cities across the U.S. She was playing house, pretending to be someone's loving fiancée in one city and another man's wife in another, all while maintaining our marriage back home. The evidence hit me like a freight train. I couldn't believe the woman I had spent 10 years with was capable of something this elaborate, manipulative, and heartless. Every business trip she'd taken was another lie. Every loving message she'd sent me was copied and pasted, recycled and reused across several men. The more I uncovered, the deeper the betrayal cut. Diana had meticulously crafted different personas for each city. In Miami, she was the supportive partner of Chris, an ex-military guy running his own security firm. In New York, she posed as the glamorous, ambitious fiancée to Brad, a high-powered investment banker. And in Seattle, she was Leo's creative, passionate wife, sharing his upscale architect lifestyle. Each scenario was so convincingly detailed, I wondered how she could possibly keep track of it all. The moment I discovered that she had even manipulated and exploited these guys financially, fabricated emergencies, expensive gifts, twisted investments, my stomach churned. Diana was draining their accounts subtly yet relentlessly, using their trust and love against them. How did I miss this? How did we all miss this? It felt like we'd all been cast in a twisted reality show, and only Diana knew the script. But I wasn't going to be her victim. Not anymore. If she thought she could juggle multiple lies without consequences, she was about to face the harshest reality check imaginable. I knew I wasn't alone in this betrayal, and it was time to start fighting back. With shaking hands but steel in my veins, I began reaching out to the other men she'd deceived. And trust me, this alliance was about to become the most unexpected brotherhood ever formed. Stick around. This roller coaster is just getting started. When I first reached out to the other guys, I didn't know what to expect. How do you even start a conversation like that? Hey man, your fiancée is my wife? But there was no other option. I carefully compiled all the evidence, screenshots, texts, emails, tracking logs before making my first call. Chris in Miami was first. He answered gruffly, clearly skeptical about some random IT guy from Austin calling out of the blue. But as I laid out the facts, skepticism turned to silence, then anger, and finally, a quiet resignation. Damn, he sighed. I trusted her with everything. Brad in New York was next. His arrogance initially had me on edge. He was dismissive until I shared the financial data, the same elaborate scams Diana had pulled on me. The shock in his voice was raw, real, and painfully familiar. Jesus, Rob? I never saw it coming. Leo in Seattle was the toughest conversation. He genuinely seemed devastated, his voice breaking as he absorbed the betrayal. He had even been discussing having kids with Diana. Hearing the pain in his voice only fueled my determination further. After connecting individually, we set up a secure group call. It was awkward at first, for men linked by humiliation and betrayal, all victims of one woman's intricate deceit. But gradually, something remarkable happened. Our shared anger forged a bond. We quickly realized that individually, we'd been played perfectly. Together, though, we were stronger. Our collective experiences formed a devastatingly complete picture of Diana's manipulations. Incredibly, I found myself emerging as the group's natural leader. I organized the evidence, coordinated our communications, and kept everyone focused on the end goal. My analytical background gave us structure, while my calm determination provided the emotional anchor we all desperately needed. Chris's security expertise, Brad's financial connections, and Leo's affluent social networks became our greatest assets. We weren't just four wronged men anymore. We were a cohesive team with one united purpose, exposing Diana's web of deceit and making sure she faced consequences. Together, we formulated a meticulous, strategic plan. The kind of revenge that wasn't impulsive or petty, but methodical, effective, and ultimately undeniable. Buckle up, everyone, our revenge was about to be epic. Once our alliance was firmly in place, we wasted no time in meticulously preparing our plan of attack. This wasn't going to be some impulsive confrontation. We wanted justice, and we wanted it served ice cold. Our investigation deepened as we each utilized our unique skill sets. Chris, with his security and investigative expertise, dug into Diana's extensive travel records, exposing lies about her business meetings and supposed work obligations. Brad leveraged his high-level financial connections to discreetly track Diana's monetary transactions, uncovering even more sophisticated layers of fraud and deception. Leo, ever the well-connected architect, quietly prepared the stage for our final act, a high-profile event in New York City that Diana was scheduled to host. My role was central. Using my IT background, I compiled all our findings into a comprehensive digital dossier. Every text, every fake marriage certificate, every bank statement, it was all meticulously organized and ready to deploy. But beyond the raw evidence, I crafted a narrative, ensuring that when the truth emerged, there would be no room for doubt or denial. As we drew closer to the event, tensions understandably rose. We rehearsed every scenario meticulously, covering every possible outcome. It wasn't just about revenge. It was about reclaiming our dignity, taking back the power Diana had stripped from each of us. Incredibly, despite the stress and emotional strain, our bond as a group grew stronger. We supported each other, becoming friends in a way none of us ever anticipated. The shared experience of betrayal had forged something unbreakable. Each of us found strength in the others, knowing we weren't alone in this fight. The gala Diana was hosting was the perfect setting, glamorous, public, and filled with powerful figures from her corporate and social worlds. We arranged to reveal our compiled evidence live, dramatically and undeniably, in front of the very audience whose respect Diana craved most. This wasn't just revenge, it was justice, meticulously planned and executed to ensure Diana would never deceive anyone again. As the night of the gala approached, we braced ourselves for the showdown of a lifetime. The night of the gala arrived faster than any of us anticipated. I felt a surreal blend of nerves and determination as I put on my tuxedo. I knew tonight was pivotal, not just for me, but for Brad, Chris, and Leo. Tonight was our collective reckoning. The event was extravagant, packed with influential figures and industry elites. Diana was stunning as always, moving effortlessly through the crowd, smiling and shaking hands, completely unaware of what was coming. Watching her operate so flawlessly made my stomach turn, knowing the true nature behind her facade. We strategically positioned ourselves around the venue. Brad mingled with influential investors. Chris observed from near the exits, ready for any unexpected complications, while Leo engaged the socialites, subtly planting seeds of curiosity about the upcoming surprise announcement. When the time finally arrived, the MC handed Diana the microphone to begin her speech. She radiated confidence, her voice captivating and authoritative. The crowd was enchanted, hanging on her every word. Little did they know, the real show was about to start. As Diana wrapped up, the lights dimmed slightly, and a large screen behind her flickered to life. Confusion rippled through the crowd as texts, photos, and documents began to appear, each incriminating piece of evidence vividly exposing Diana's hidden lives and fraudulent activities. Diana's smile faltered, quickly replaced by shock, then panic. She turned frantically, searching the audience until her eyes met mine. Recognition and anger flashed across her face. But before she could react, Brad stepped forward, detailing calmly and publicly the financial manipulations and false identities Diana had used against him. Chris spoke next, explaining her elaborate lies and fabricated business trips, backed by undeniable proof from security footage and travel records. Finally, Leo stepped up, his voice steady but laced with pain as he described Diana's manipulative promises and emotional betrayals. The audience was utterly silent, stunned by the revelations. Diana was frozen, unable to deny the undeniable. Then, calmly but resolutely, I stepped onto the stage, addressing Diana directly. This isn't revenge, Diana. This is justice. The truth always finds a way to come out. At that moment, uniformed officers, previously arranged by Chris's contacts, entered the hall discreetly but deliberately, arresting Diana on multiple counts of fraud and bigamy. The room erupted into whispers and murmurs, but all I felt was relief and a profound sense of closure. Here's what happened after the bombshell of that unforgettable night. As Diana was led away in cuffs, the entire room was buzzing. Cameras flashed, journalists scrambled for comments, and guests murmured excitedly, still absorbing what they'd just witnessed. I stood beside Brad, Chris, and Leo, sharing silent glances of triumph and exhaustion. The weight we'd carried for months finally lifted. In the following days, the story exploded nationwide. Diana's carefully crafted image shattered instantly. Headlines called it the fraud of the decade, dissecting every aspect of her deceit. She faced multiple charges, from financial fraud and bigamy to identity theft. Justice was swift and relentless. Amidst the media frenzy, I chose to stay relatively private, offering only brief, composed statements. I wasn't interested in fame or notoriety. I'd done this to reclaim my life and dignity, not to become a spectacle. Brad, Chris, and Leo became lasting friends, bound by an extraordinary shared experience. We regularly checked in on each other, providing mutual support as we each rebuild our lives. Brad refocused his energy into charitable investments, determined to restore trust in his financial circles. Chris leveraged the media attention to grow his security business, advocating strongly for transparency and ethics. Leo channeled his emotions into his architectural projects, using his creativity to heal and inspire. Personally, the experience was transformative. The ordeal sharpened my instincts and reinforced my self-confidence. It reminded me that resilience and strategic thinking could overcome even the most elaborate manipulations. Professionally, I found a new calling mentoring younger IT professionals, teaching them not just about technology, but also about integrity and vigilance in both their careers and personal lives. Looking back, I realized that as devastating as the betrayal was, confronting it head-on made me stronger. It forced me to redefine my values, my boundaries, and ultimately, my self-worth. Now, I advocate fiercely for openness, communication, and authenticity in all relationships. To anyone out there facing similar doubts or suspicions, remember this. Trust your instincts, gather solid evidence, and never hesitate to seek support. No one deserves deception, and everyone deserves truth and respect. After the dust settled, I was left with a life that felt unfamiliar, yet incredibly promising. The chaos of the past months had gradually transformed into clarity, purpose, and even hope. It wasn't easy, of course. Healing never is. But the bonds formed through shared trauma with Brad, Chris, and Leo provided the support network we all needed. We continued our regular check-ins, growing closer through each interaction. Brad, who had been deeply scarred by the financial deceit, dedicated his life to promoting integrity and accountability in investment circles. He even established a foundation aimed at supporting victims of financial fraud, turning his painful experience into something genuinely impactful. Chris became somewhat of a local celebrity in Miami. His security firm thrived, bolstered by his newfound visibility and credibility. Yet he never let success distract him from the importance of transparency and ethical standards, themes he championed relentlessly through public talks and engagements. Leo, perhaps the most emotionally wounded among us, found healing in creativity. His architecture projects began reflecting deeper emotional resonance, winning him several prestigious awards. Through his work, Leo beautifully captured the essence of rebuilding, structures designed with resilience and optimism. As for myself, mentoring younger professionals became my passion project. I established workshops and online forums dedicated to guiding upcoming IT talent, emphasizing not only technical skill but ethical decision-making and personal accountability. Each mentee I guided felt like a small victory, an affirmation of my own journey through betrayal towards self-discovery and empowerment. One unexpected but welcome twist was reconnecting with old friends and family I'd unintentionally distanced myself from during my marriage. Renewing these relationships filled a void I hadn't realized existed. Their warmth and genuine support reminded me of what healthy connections felt like, reinforcing my resolve to never compromise on honesty again. Professionally and personally, life was richer than ever. The lessons I'd learned about resilience, strategic thinking, integrity, and friendship had fundamentally reshaped my outlook. While the past could never be erased, I found peace in knowing that confronting betrayal head-on had transformed me into a stronger, more authentic version of myself. Just when I thought life had settled into a steady rhythm of personal growth and professional fulfillment, new opportunities began appearing, ones I hadn't anticipated. My mentoring initiative gained significant traction, attracting attention from major tech companies interested in fostering integrity-driven workplace cultures. Before I knew it, invitations poured in for speaking engagements, industry conferences, and even consulting gigs. Initially hesitant about stepping into the limelight, I soon realized the impact these platforms offered. Sharing my experiences openly wasn't just therapeutic. It empowered others, highlighting the crucial intersection between ethics, trust, and technology. Brad's foundation gained prominence too, becoming a cornerstone in financial literacy and anti-fraud advocacy. He asked me to join his board, an invitation I accepted eagerly. Together, we collaborated on educational campaigns, combining his financial expertise with my IT insights. This partnership amplified our message, reaching broader audiences and solidifying our shared commitment to transparency and accountability. Meanwhile, Chris expanded his security firm nationally, leveraging both his media visibility and genuine passion for ethical security practices. He frequently invited me to speak at his events, often highlighting our journey together as a vivid example of resilience and teamwork. His willingness to share openly about our ordeal reinforced our narrative's power, turning a painful past into purposeful advocacy. Leo found new ways to inspire, launching community-focused architecture projects that emphasized sustainability and resilience. One of these, a community center dedicated to supporting families affected by emotional and financial hardships, was particularly impactful. When Leo asked me to contribute technologically, I didn't hesitate. This collaboration became a tangible symbol of our shared healing journey, something genuinely meaningful for both of us. Personally, these unexpected opportunities provided an immense sense of fulfillment. Each project, event, and collaboration further reinforced my belief in the strength of transparency, ethics, and authentic relationships. Professionally, doors continued to open in directions I'd never dreamed possible, and emotionally, my connections deepened in ways I'd never anticipated. As my influence grew, I recognized the importance of paying it forward. Each speaking engagement and mentorship session was a reminder of how transformative my journey had become, not just for myself, but for countless others now inspired to embrace authenticity and integrity in their own lives. About 6 months after the gala, I got a letter from Diana. Not a text, not an email. A letter, handwritten in tight, familiar script. It came from the women's correctional facility she'd been transferred to. I almost tossed it in the trash. But curiosity got the better of me. She started off with the usual. Regret. Denial. Then a sudden shift. Blame. You embarrassed me, she wrote. You turned everyone against me. I sat there reading it, completely numb. There was no real apology. No sign of reflection. Just an undercurrent of narcissism wrapped in dramatic guilt-tripping. That letter did more to close the book on our chapter than the arrest, the courtroom hearings, or the headlines ever could. That's when it really hit me. I wasn't just over her. I was free. And I hadn't even realized how trapped I'd been until I felt what freedom actually tasted like. I didn't respond. I had no interest in engaging with the past. Not when the future looked so damn good. That summer, the four of us, me, Brad, Chris, and Leo, met up in person for the first time since the gala. We rented a cabin up in Colorado. No phones, no media, just mountains, whiskey, and four men who'd walked through fire together and came out forged. It was the kind of peace I hadn't felt in years. Not the fake peace Diana used to pretend we had, but the real kind, the kind you earn. That weekend, we made a pact. Not just to keep in touch, but to keep pushing professionally, emotionally, and personally. We agreed to hold each other accountable, to keep the values we rediscovered alive. It wasn't some cheesy brotherhood movie moment. It was real, grounded in respect. Since then, I've been writing more short essays, talks, maybe even a book one day. Not about revenge. About what comes after. About what it means to lose everything and realize you never needed it to begin with. This whole journey taught me that dignity doesn't come from appearances or job titles or even love from others. It comes from how you respond when someone tries to break you, and whether or not you let them. I've spent a long time thinking about how to wrap this up, not just for you, but for myself. Because what started as a gut feeling and a mistake called Mark turned into a full-on mission, one that broke me down, rebuilt me, and taught me more about people, power, and purpose than anything else in my life. Diana was a master manipulator, no doubt. She didn't just cheat, she engineered entire parallel lives. She weaponized trust, turned love into a tool, and exploited people who genuinely cared about her. But even she, for all her lies and games, taught me something valuable, that character always reveals itself. Eventually. If there's one takeaway I can offer anyone reading this, it's this. When something feels wrong, don't gaslight yourself. Investigate, but do it smart. Don't confront with half-baked guesses, gather truth. Build your case. Trust your instincts, but back them with evidence. When the time comes to act, don't lash out, move with purpose. Revenge isn't smashing windows or screaming in someone's face. Revenge is keeping your cool while the truth works like a wrecking ball. And sometimes, the best revenge is just not being there when it all comes crashing down. But the real win? Rebuilding. With intention. With people who reflect the values you almost lost faith in. People like Brad, Chris, and Leo, men I never expected to know, but now couldn't imagine my life without. We were all played by the same woman, but we refused to stay victims. We became something stronger. And if Diana ever reads this, here's what I'd say. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not bitter. You don't own my story. You're just a chapter in it, and not even the best one. To the rest of you, thank you for following this, for your support, and for every message you sent along the way. Stay sharp, stay kind, and above all, stay honest. Rob out.